The rain was falling softly that afternoon, but what hurt me was not the cold weather, it was the way everyone was looking at me. Before you skip this story, let me tell you something important. What happened to me at that wedding changed my life forever. I was humiliated by my own parents. I was judged by rich guests. I was laughed at silently. But what my husband did after that destroyed the groom in a way nobody expected. So stay with me, because this is not just a wedding story, this is a revenge story. My name is Emily Carter. I am a USA girl born and raised in a small town in Ohio. My parents always believed that respect comes from money, from big houses, from expensive clothes, and from powerful connections. I was the kind of girl who believed respect comes from love and loyalty. That difference destroyed my relationship with my family. My younger sister Rachel was always the favorite child. She was beautiful, confident, and married into a rich family. Her wedding was the biggest event our town had seen. A luxury hotel, hundreds of guests, expensive decorations. Everything was perfect for her. Except me. I was married to Daniel. Quiet man. Simple clothes. No fancy car. No loud status. People called him poor. Even my parents did. On the wedding day, my parents called me aside. Their faces were cold. My mother looked at my dress with disappointment. My father sighed deeply. He said, "Emily, do not embarrass us today. Do not stand near important guests. Sit where you are told. Remember, your husband is nothing compared to the groom." Those words cut deep. Daniel stood beside me silent. He squeezed my hand gently. I could feel his calm strength. But inside me something was breaking. At the ceremony, everyone was seated under a beautiful tent. White chairs for family. Golden chairs for VIP guests. My parents pointed me toward the back. Not even under the tent. They told me to sit outside because there were not enough seats. It started raining lightly. Guests stared. Some whispered. Some smiled with pity. Rachel walked past me in her wedding dress. She looked at me once, then looked away. The groom laughed with his friends. They all knew. They all enjoyed it. Rain soaked my hair. My dress clung to my skin. I felt small, ashamed, invisible. That was the moment I realized something. My parents did not just choose status over me. They publicly shamed me. Daniel stood up. I pulled his hand. I whispered, "Please do not create a scene." He looked at me with eyes full of fire and patience. He said softly, "This is not the scene, Emily. This is the beginning." Nobody knew who Daniel really was. Nobody knew what he owned. Nobody knew the power he held quietly. As the vows were spoken, as the guests laughed and celebrated, my humiliation was turning into something else. Strength. Because when you push a quiet man too far, you wake up a storm. And the groom had no idea that by the end of this wedding, his perfect life would collapse. This was only the beginning. The rain kept falling and nobody moved to help me. People adjusted their coats. Women whispered behind polite smiles. Men pretended not to notice. My own parents sat in the front row, dry and comfortable. My mother never turned back. My father laughed with the groom family. At that moment I understood that blood does not always mean belonging. Daniel took off his jacket and gently placed it over my shoulders. He did not look angry. He did not shout. That scared me more than anger. Because silence from a strong man means calculation. The ceremony ended. Music started. Guests moved inside the grand hall. The doors closed behind them. I was still outside, wet and shaking. A hotel staff member approached me and said quietly, "Ma'am, family seating is full, you can wait here." Wait here. Like I was nothing. Daniel looked at the staff member and smiled politely. He said, "Thank you, we will handle it." Then he took my hand and walked me inside anyway. Every eye turned toward us. Wet dress. Simple suit. No invitation. Card in hand. Whispers exploded. "Is that her? Why is she here? Why did they let her inside?" My parents stood up immediately. My father rushed toward me. His voice was sharp. "Emily, what are you doing? You are embarrassing us. Look at you. You could not even dress properly." I opened my mouth to speak, but Daniel raised his hand, gently stopping me. He looked at my father calmly. He said, "Sir, your daughter is not an embarrassment. The way you treated her is." Gasps filled the hall. Rachel stepped forward. Her smile tight. Daniel, this is not the time. Please do not ruin my day. Daniel nodded. He said, you are right. This is not the time. That comes later. The groom laughed. A loud, confident laugh. He walked toward Daniel. He said, look, man. I do not know who you think you are. But this is a high-class event. If you came for free food, just take it and leave. That laugh hurt more than the rain. Daniel smiled again. But this time his eyes were cold. He said, enjoy your food while you can. Nobody understood that sentence. Nobody knew it was a warning. We were escorted to a corner table near the kitchen. No decorations. No name cards. Just silence. As guests danced. As speeches were given. As gifts were announced. My parents avoided my eyes. Then something strange happened. A group of well-dressed men entered the hall. Not guests. Not family. They wore sharp suits. Security followed them nervously. They walked straight toward Daniel. Sir, everything is ready. One of them said respectfully. People froze. My mother stood up confused. My father whispered, what is happening? Daniel stood slowly. He helped me stand beside him. He placed his hand on my back. He said, Emily, remember what I told you. Quiet storms destroy the strongest buildings. He walked toward the stage. The music stopped. The groom looked annoyed. Security moved closer. Daniel took the microphone. His voice calm and clear. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for interrupting, but I believe truth should be served before dessert. The hall was silent. He looked at the groom, then at my parents, then at Rachel. He said, you see, I was invited here today not as a guest, but as the owner of this hotel. Shock hit the room like thunder. My mother dropped her glass. My father stepped back. Rachel's face went pale. The groom laughed nervously. That is not funny, man. Daniel continued. This hotel, this catering company, the music company, even the security team, they all work for me. Silence. Then Daniel turned to the groom. He said, and as of this morning, all contracts connected to your family businesses have been terminated. The groom's face drained of color. Phones started ringing. Guests whispered loudly. My parents looked like statues. Daniel handed the microphone back. He took my hand. He whispered, now watch carefully. Because the wedding was not over. It was collapsing. The groom rushed toward Daniel. His confidence shattered. His voice shaking. You cannot do this. This wedding is live. Investors are here. Media is here. Daniel looked at him calmly. He said, I already did. The men in suits moved closer to the stage. One of them opened a folder. He spoke clearly. All partnership accounts linked to your family construction firm have been frozen. Loan approvals have been withdrawn. Property deals are canceled effective immediately. The groom grabbed his phone. He dialed numbers desperately. One call after another. No answers. Only messages. Contract terminated. Meeting canceled. Access denied. Rachel stood frozen. Her wedding dress suddenly felt heavy. She looked at me for the first time directly. Her eyes were full of fear. Emily, please. Say something. I wanted to speak. But for years my voice had been ignored. Now silence felt powerful. My father stepped forward. His voice low. Daniel's son. There must be some misunderstanding. We are family. Daniel turned slowly. Family. He repeated the word softly. He said family does not humiliate their daughter in the rain. Family does not sell respect for status. Family does not choose money over love. My mother started crying. People were recording. Phones held high. Whispers turned into loud shock. Is that really her husband? They said he was poor. How did they not know? The groom father collapsed into a chair. His face white. He looked at Daniel. Please. This will destroy us. Daniel nodded. Yes. That was the point. Security received instructions through earpieces. They moved toward the groom family table. Guests watched as boxes of wedding gifts were removed. Music equipment was shut down. The luxury wedding turned silent. Rachel screamed. Stop. You are ruining my life. Daniel looked at her. He said no. Your choices did. He turned to the crowd. He said this wedding was hosted using my property. But respect is not free. It is earned. Then he looked at me. Emily, he said quietly, you were asked to sit in the rain. So today the truth stands in the light. I felt my chest tighten. Tears rolled down. Not from pain. From release. The hotel manager approached my parents. Sir, ma'am, we need to ask you to leave the premises. My father looked at me. For the first time in years his eyes showed regret. Emily, please talk to him. I stepped forward. My legs shaking. My voice steady. I said you taught me to value money over people. Today I learned a better lesson. We walked out together. Daniel hand warm in mine. Behind us chaos continued. Guests arguing. Phones ringing. Dreams collapsing. Outside the rain had stopped. The sky clear. Daniel opened the car door for me. He said I never wanted revenge. I wanted justice. I looked at him. I said you destroyed them. He shook his head. No, they destroyed themselves. As we drove away, I saw the hotel lights flicker behind us. A wedding that started with humiliation, ended with truth. But the story was not finished. Because consequences do not end in one night. The next morning my phone would not stop ringing. Unknown numbers. Family members. Old friends who never cared before. News spreads fast when power is exposed. Social media was flooded. Videos from the wedding. Clips of Daniel speaking. Comments exploding. Who is this man? How did they call him poor? This is the most savage wedding ever. Rachel's wedding became a public disaster. Sponsors pulled out. Brands deleted posts. The Groom family issued statements. But silence from Daniel was louder than any explanation. My parents came to our house unannounced. They stood at the door like strangers. No pride. No authority. Just fear. My mother cried. She said we did not know. If we knew he was rich, we would never have treated you that way. That sentence hurt more than the wedding. Daniel stood beside me. He said that is exactly why this happened. My father looked at the floor. He said we made a mistake. Daniel replied you made a choice. Rachel called later. Her voice broken. Emily, please. My husband left. His family blames me. I have nowhere to go. I closed my eyes. For years she enjoyed my silence. Now she wanted my support. I said I hope you find peace. But I cannot fix what you helped break. Daniel did not interfere. He let me choose. That was his strength. The groom filed legal threats. But every lawyer backed out. Every door closed. Because Daniel had built his empire quietly. Without noise. Without arrogance. One evening I asked him, why did you never tell me? He smiled. He said because I wanted to be loved. Not valued. That night I realized something powerful. True wealth hides. Ego screams. Weeks passed. My parents' reputation fell. Their friends avoided them. They were no longer useful. They apologized publicly. But private wounds do not heal with public words. Daniel received offers, interviews, deals. He refused them all. He said let the story teach, not entertain. One afternoon we visited the same hotel. Now peaceful. Staff greeted Daniel with respect. They looked at me with admiration. We sat by the window. The same place where rain once soaked me. I felt calm, free. Daniel took my hand. He said you never needed revenge. You needed dignity. I smiled, because he was right. But there was still one last chapter. Not of anger, but of closure. And that was part 5. 1 year later the world had moved on, but I had not forgotten. Not the rain. Not the whispers. Not the way my parents looked through me as if I did not exist. Time has a strange way of revealing truth. Rachel's marriage ended quietly. No headlines. No celebrations. Just silence. She moved to another city. Far from the life she once showed off. My parents lost their circle. Without status they had nothing to trade. They aged faster. Regret does that to people. One evening my father called. His voice weak. Emily, can we meet? I looked at Daniel. He nodded. Your choice. We met at a small cafe. No luxury. No audience. My parents looked smaller. Humbled. My mother said we failed you. I took a deep breath. I said, "You taught me what not to become." There was no shouting, no anger, just truth. I forgave them, not for them, for myself. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It means freedom. Daniel and I continued our life quietly, helping others, investing in people, not appearances. Sometimes I read comments under the old wedding video. People still argue, still judge. But I know the truth. I was never poor. I was rich in patience, rich in loyalty, rich in love. And my husband, the man they called nothing. He destroyed the groom without raising his voice, without touching him, without hatred. Because real power does not shout. It waits. And when it moves, the world listens. The night after meeting my parents, I slept peacefully for the first time in years. No heaviness, no anger, just calm. Daniel was already awake when I opened my eyes, standing near the window, watching the city wake up. I asked him quietly, "Do you ever regret what you did?" He turned. He smiled softly. He said, "I regret only one thing, that you ever doubted your worth." Life moved forward, slowly, strongly. Daniel's business continued to grow, not because of revenge, but because people trusted him. They saw integrity. They saw silence backed by action. I started speaking at small events, not as a victim, but as a woman who learned her value too late, and then never let it go again. One day a young girl approached me. She said, "My family treats me like I am nothing. They say my husband is useless." I held her hands. I said, "If love is real, time will speak, because truth always speaks." The story of that wedding faded into memory, but the lesson remained. Never measure people by what they show. Measure them by how they stand when you are broken. My parents learned too late. Rachel learned through loss. The groom learned through collapse. And I learned through rain. That day in the rain did not break me. It baptized me into strength. I am Emily Carter, a USA girl who was shamed publicly, but rose privately. And the man beside me, the man they mocked, he never needed to destroy anyone. Their own pride did it for him. This was not just a wedding story. This was a reminder. When you humiliate the quiet, make sure you know who they are. Because silence, when it finally speaks,